Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Western Oklahoma Sports Podcast. I'm Chuck Ramsey, the Lawdog, and I'm joined by the voice of 95.5, the Coyote, on Van and John in the mornings. No, it's not Van, it's John, and he's here with me on this episode. We're going to do our best to start trying to bring you consistent, frequent content here about Western Oklahoma sports, because that's what we kind of do on the air, but we know that radio's something we got to try to revive, John. It's getting a little scary when you hear that like the new EVs aren't going to have AM radio in it, or and all these kids that stream. Are we dinosaurs?
No. I think the simplicity, right? We like just to turn on and go. However, I give you phones are starting to be able to do that too. So
Yeah,
it kind of works both ways. I think the beauty that we run into that you don't get with the whole iHeart and the whole Cumulus and whoever else is running the big corporate world nowadays is the local part of it, right?
yeah.
Your local news stories, the fact that you have a news director that goes and sits at all these city council meetings, so you don't have to,
Yeah.
or these Custer County, what is that? Those conference, commissioners meetings,
Yeah.
so you don't have to because we'd all fall asleep. And then the same thing with the local sports guy, right? You're not going to have a phone that's going to pick that up all of a sudden.
No.
So
No.
you kind of keep up with the fact that we can say congratulations,
Yeah.
the Fort Cobb Broxton state
Boy,
champs,
no
right?
kidding. The Triple Crown.
That's amazing. What are they doing down there in the water?
Man, I tell you, they got some horses, and they are the Mustangs, so that works pretty well. Hey, we'll upload this video to probably we'll see if we can't upload it to the 97.3 The Score Facebook page. But you got some
Video's never been my strong suit. I'm just letting you know right now.
We're both kind of face made for radios. If you notice, I've got the turkey neck profile going here in the video. But I gotta
I
say,
thought you were excited about the Thanksgiving Dallas Cowboys game announced. That's why I was inspired for it. It had nothing to do with your picture.
who are they taking on first on Thanksgiving Day?
I believe it was the almost said it. Wow, Commanders.
Yeah. Okay.
I believe it is.
So Cowboys and formerly Redskins on Thanksgiving Day.
Yes. Yeah. No.
With no Daniel Snyder involved. So there's a.
You think he's going to be officially done by then?
Isn't he? I thought he was supposed to be.
I don't know. I don't know their
Aren't
timeline.
they can close that deal.
I've never had $1 billion deal before.
No, I haven't either. But anyways, I was going to point out that your headphones are just outstanding, brother.
Oh, you like them?
Yeah.
These are my
daughter dad.
These are my Frozen. Oh wait, there we go.
Yeah. Is that Elsa?
Here, Elsa. I think that's Elsa, and I forget his name's Finn. I think is Finn the name of him, or no? Finn's the donkey.
My kids were grown by the time I think that came out, or at least had passed beyond that. And I could tell you about Blues.
It could be on it.
I could tell you about Blues Clues and Little Bear, and then what is that? Courage the Cowardly Dog and stuff like that they used to watch. But no, so we were talking about the radio and local sports and news. I mean, you're exactly right, and that's the thing about I will always commend our joint employers, which this is me and John talking when our opinions and viewpoints don't necessarily express the management and ownership.
Yes, I have to play that every morning.
Right media, but
yeah,
that is the thing about Western Oklahoma radio is, and I'll even give some kudos to a few of our competing stations in other areas, is the fact that you're not going to hear interviews from a Class 4A Western Oklahoma standout like we bring you, or the coaching staff, news clips, or like you said, county commissioners. So, and here's the thing, I lived in Oklahoma City for 30 years. It could be done there too. It's just not. And I think if somebody took the gumption to say, and they have their big network sports talks and stuff up there. So there are a few guys that will feature some local stuff, but really it's just OU, OSU, Dallas Cowboys, NFL, Thunder, and that's it, and that's why on my sportscast, I don't give a lot of college scores. I don't give a lot of pro scores because people are going elsewhere for that. And that's not what I'm kind of brought in to do. I don't think.
I meant to talk to you about that. My mom.
I'm neglecting your Rangers, aren't I?
Yeah, not me. No, not me. My Rangers are terrible. They're in the dumpster pretty much every year.
They're in first place by 3.5 games.
Currently, yes. Now, as a Rangers fan, a lifelong Rangers fan, the All-Star break. Let me know how that goes after the All-Star break.
You got a point, but I mean, they have made a World Series in the past twice.
Yeah, you could argue if they could just catch a fly ball, they could be World Series champs.
Get Nelson Cruz out of the right field.
Yeah, or maybe leave Felice in one more inning. That's all I'm asking. You bring him in the 8th, just let him close it out in the 9th.
Well, and as we found out, sadly, Ron Washington might have had other things on his mind, but
Yeah.
it just
Yeah.
it is what it is. But hey, there's some teams that would love to get a crack at any World Series. So,
I
but
mean, speaking of that, baseball, I mean, how do you have the best 2 players in baseball on the Angels and be the worst team in baseball? How is that possible?
they just are a two-trick pony, I guess. But yeah, I was looking at some Ranger stats before we got on the air, and I tell you, I mean, it's amazing what bringing in 2, 3 quality pitchers and then, some decent bats can do in this league now, which is, like you said, it's watered down, but it's not like bringing in huge money superstars is going to guarantee you success.
So you think the Nolan Ryan way of thinking and not the John Daniels way of thinking
Oh,
is
big time. And where's JD right now?
he got on. He's an assistant something somewhere. I don't
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
I saw
Those
his
guys
story the other
never.
day. Yeah, after he got fired, I think he's an assistant to an assistant, a GM. You know how that goes.
But they still bring in a paycheck. But yeah, I mean, I gotta say, Nolan kind of proved that he could steer a franchise and did it 2 different times. But I don't know. It's funny, but no, back on the local thing and tell Mama Matthews I'll start throwing in some Rangers.
Okay, she just needs a little score update. No, not the last couple days because
Yeah.
Seattle's been whooping them, but
Yeah.
when they win, especially.
Well, sure, and
Yeah.
we'll throw that in, especially now that, as I mentioned in the previews of this video, we are winding down Western Oklahoma sports for the 2022-23 season, and one more game left to go, which is tomorrow night. The Clinton Red Tornado boys soccer team takes on Hilldale in Claremore, Oklahoma, on the campus of Rogers State University for the Class 4A championship. John, they are on the verge of a three-peat if they can win this final game.
I think you can go ahead and just give them the trophy and save the drive if you guys want to. That would seem to be easier. No, I mean they're the best team in the state. They've been the best team in the state.
Yeah.
We talked about Chickasha being probably their toughest competition, and they're able to win that. I mean, this game easily, in my opinion, 6-1. I know Hilldale's got a defense, and people talking about it, but I mean they're just that good.
They and Coach Jefferson, I've talked to him mostly, and I know we talked about it this morning on 95.5 The Coyote. Coach Gene Ray is pretty much the boys' Svengali, you could say. He runs the boys team. When they had to split up for the playoffs, Coach Jefferson went with the girls and Coach Ray stayed with the boys.
Yeah.
But they're both hand in hand together with that team. But Coach Jefferson told me, he said, we attack so much and so frequently that it's so tough for teams to counter that. And I saw that with Weatherford. I mean, Weatherford really played a pretty decent game against them, as much as anybody could. And before you knew it, one player had a second half hat trick and it was over, 5-2.
Why are they playing at Rogers State? What did the OSSA just have a bunch of drinks? They're sitting up there going, "Hey, let's throw a dart at a dartboard."
Yeah.
And see.
I think Taft Stadium's got renovations going. I
Okay.
think normally they would like to have it there because it kind of, well, I tell you, as long as Claremore's a beautiful town. It's the home of Will Rogers. I don't know if you've heard of him. But
He's got an airport, doesn't he?
no, he died in a plane crash with Wiley Post, and the 2 airports in Oklahoma City are named after guys that died
in plane crash. I did not know that.
There's a Wiley Post Airport and Will Rogers World Airport.
And I knew that too. I just didn't realize. Wow,
they
I'm
died
supposed to
in
fly
Alaska.
in 2 weeks.
They died in Alaska in a plane crash, sadly. But anyways, Claremore's beautiful, and as long as they are on a soccer specific field, that's fine. It's the football fields and the field turf. I want to see guys playing on grass, and I want to see it lined for nothing but soccer.
No, I completely agree. I just hate that. Why? I'm feeling sorry for the fans.
Yeah, it's a heck of a trip.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's 50 miles away from Hilldale, but then only 200 something miles from Clinton.
Yeah.
And they just found a more neutral site. Could there have been anywhere? I mean, UConn, Weatherford's got a great soccer field. You could argue that's a Clinton advantage, but I'm just saying there's plenty of nice places out there that don't have to go up to northeastern Oklahoma.
Well, and Clinton had to travel to Tulsa, Tuesday for
don't get me started on that.
Because
that was
go ahead.
No, I'm still saying that was just a coin flip. Just because of this has happened to be an even year, an odd year, which means the top of the bracket gets the home in the semifinals or whatever, however it works.
I thought it was that you can't host. You can only host 2 playoff games. That after
No,
that, you go on the road, no matter
you
what.
can't. Well, you can, but so did you can host. But if both teams have hosted too,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then it just becomes an odd year. The top of the bracket gets it. Even years, the bottom of the bracket gets it.
And they're playing all the other championships there. So obviously Claremore was just designated. I
Yeah.
mean, girls championship will be there. 3A will be there. I'm not sure about 5A and 6A. That could be different places. But anyways, like you said, I hate to go out on a limb because I hate to be a jinx, but I think you can chalk up the three-peat for the Clinton Red Tornadoes because they played Hilldale last year and in the playoffs and kind of took care of business, because that's the thing. If you're one of these defensive teams and you don't really have a counter, well, then it's just a constant trying to fend off the barrage of the Clinton attack. And let me tell you something, John. Senior midfielder Sammy Velez, we got a quote from Coach Jefferson today about him. He's a cool hand Luke there in the midfield. He gets a little worked up. He's not quite as laid back as maybe as Coach Jefferson, because he has received a red card on the season, but
What?
that was kind of a tricky deal up in Woodward. But he makes the midfield go, and then they've got kids that can just flat finish. I mean, they will put the ball in the net, and I'm telling you, some of the scores they had against Chickasha, John, and then also, I mean, I think they were up 2-0 in the first 5 minutes
Wow.
against Metro. And then they kind of laxed up a little bit and came out lackadaisical. Is it lackadaisical or lackadaisical?
I always say lackadaisical.
Okay, yeah, that's what I said.
It doesn't mean it's right.
Yeah. But gave up 2 early goals in the second half, and then it's tied up. Well, then it's like, well, let's go back to work. And the next thing you know, it's 5-3 and it's over. So um, they're just so dang good, and that's such a dominant streak. Because you figured this, John, COVID probably took another championship away from them.
Mhm.
I would imagine they were heavily favored back in 2020 as well.
This could be 4 in a row. No doubt about it. 3 in a row, they'll take it. And back to your earlier point, yes, all games are at Rogers State. They start tonight or
Yeah.
start this afternoon, and they go 4A, 5A, 6A. Everybody's playing there. So you're right.
And
It was
really
probably just
have some options going if weather's going to be a case, because we won't get the rain that they're going to get up there.
whatever. It's going to rain this weekend. I feel it.
You
I'm
feel
gonna
you feel the
out.
drought buster coming?
I dusted it off. Well, not a drought buster, but maybe an inch and a quarter, something like
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
But shout out, Clinton Reds, no doubt going to take. Yeah, no, they should. The three-peat shouldn't be a problem
No,
for them this Saturday. So
I sure hope not. If it is, something went haywire. So,
pep
but
rally, the town gets behind them. Everybody gets excited.
Woodward Lady Boomers in the Class 4A Girls Championship against Holland Hall. The Lady Dutch beat Weatherford 4-0 on Tuesday in that game. Weatherford's defense did adjust to the constant attack that Holland Hall put out there, but they were just not prepared for it in that first 30 minutes, and it was just a barrage, John. And our girls are good. They're young. They're going to learn. They're going to get better. But it was a tough sled against a private school with girls that I'm sure play a ton of club ball and probably attend a lot of elite camps and things like that. So that's kind of the standard when you're going to let private schools play in some of these other sports. Holland Hall's working on a repeat. We'll see what Woodward can do, but I would imagine the Lady Dutch will get the 2 in a row.
I mean, maybe. I mean, we all thought also. I think Metro Christian was going to be Woodward. At least I did. So, they upset, in my opinion, there. But you could see Holland Hall is a repeat, but I don't know. I'm going for Woodward. I normally don't like Woodward in any situation, but anytime you have a chance to beat,
Because your coworkers from Woodward.
yeah, I think so. I always say that Woodward smells. We can smell it in Weatherford, but I think that anytime you get a chance to beat a private school, I don't care who it is in the state.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like even if you're an OU fan, you root for OSU at times.
Oh, yeah. I
Same thing.
root for OSU against Texas every year.
I went up to I watched a little bit of the state championships at the Weatherford Golf Course. They had 4A and 3A out there.
Yeah.
And of course, Heritage Hall.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Like, it's anytime you can watch, you're immediately rooting against the private school.
I think Oklahoma Christian School won that, maybe. Elk City made a run. They finished fourth, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Elks have had a great year, and that kind of translates into, and I do want to mention golf, but before we switch topics, kudos and congratulations to head coach to Lydia Givens, Weatherford Lady Eagles soccer, to take the ladies Eagles to the state semifinals. And like I said, a very, very young team, John. I mean, three seniors, basically. Two started, one was a regular in the rotation, and the rest are all not just underclassmen, but they're like sophomores and freshmen. I mean, they are extremely young team.
So you expect them to make a deep run again next year?
I want to see a rematch with the Lady Dutch. You know what I led with on Tuesday night on the broadcast?
No.
I quoted the movie Goldmember.
No, you didn't.
I did. So there's only two things in this world I hate: people who are intolerant of other people's cultures and the Dutch. I don't know how well it went over, but whatever.
I'm sure it was great. I'm sure it was amazing. All right, shout out to Coach Givens. And now
Coach Givens and
basketball.
Great run for the Lady Eagles. But we were talking about baseball earlier in the Fort Cobb Broxton Mustangs Triple Crown, the fall baseball, basketball, and spring baseball championships. That's pretty astounding for Class B. And then we may have another state champion upcoming, John, if they're able to get the games in. But Elk City, they beat Oologah Talala 6-1 yesterday, and they ran out their number 2 for that game. I think Cooper Church is their number 2 pitcher. He pitched a 1-run game. I think he gave up 4 hits, maybe something like that. And then so that means today, which we're probably on the air, and I'll get this uploaded maybe about the time that they're going against Tuttle. But they take on Tuttle, who defeated them last year in the semifinals and then fell to Blanchard in the championship. But this Elk City team, John, could very well be coming back to Oklahoma City with a gold ball.
Really?
Oh yeah, Cash Mayfield will be on the mound today, and if Tuttle's able to get to him, I'll be very surprised.
Okay. Well, no, that's
and then their offense is just opportunistic. They go up to the plate pretty loose, knowing that they're not going to have to really press to get. I mean, they scored 5 runs in the first inning yesterday, John, and that 4 of the runs were off of walks. I mean, the 4 straight walks, and that walked in 3, and I think finally a couple of sacrifices and stuff. It was just an amazing stat line to read. And then in typical fashion. Now I'll say this: kudos to Big Elk TV for bringing their fans and I probably shouldn't be giving props to a station in a competing market, but it was pretty cool that their fans are able to watch those semifinal games online.
Yeah, and shout out to I never say anything nice about the OSSAA, but it's about time you let them do it.
Well, I think their streams were so terrible during basketball, they knew the backlash would be there. I guess if you're just Joe Blow that loves Oklahoma baseball and not a particular fan of one team, you could pay for that NFHS deal. But I heard so many people complain about the quality of the broadcast, and not just the terrible play-by-play or whatever, but just the stream itself. I was told was terrible.
Huh.
So
we'll see.
That must have had something to do with it.
I'll be excited, Oak City, if they can, like you said, make the run, and then they get to play at the Bricktown Ballpark.
Yeah, Chickasaw. What is that? Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark was scheduled for Saturday. I just have a feeling that's going to be something that'll be pushed back to maybe Sunday or Monday. And what better way to treat mom than take her to Chickasaw Bricktown Ballpark for some high school baseball?
This is a terrible year as an example, but do you ever see a time where these move to little 3-game series? I know with the rain, so now we can barely get these in. So then, yeah. But man, baseball, their pitching rules and everything makes stuff like that hard. But it'd be cool to see.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that, because I did kind of bring that question up in an interview with Elks coach Jay McClure. Some really good team could go out and have a really bad day and get beat in a one and out tournament, and you don't know if I know it's like college basketball. Everybody says, oh, well, just because you win the tournament doesn't mean you're the best team. Well, tit for tat. But no, I brought up that question, like you said, a little 3-game series, a little double elimination, something like that. and see how that would go. I mean, every other tournament in the baseball season is
Just
played
double.
in a double elimination, but when you
Yeah.
get to state, and same thing for basketball,
Yep.
except for when you get to the state tournament, then we got to knock it out one game and you're out.
Yeah.
So kind of silly.
I ain't silly. I mean, you also kind of like the pressure.
Of course, if
Same
they
thing.
would quit allowing every team to play in districts, they could probably
Yeah. Well,
squeeze that in.
that's, yeah. 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 You're exactly right.
You like how I threw in your
A
little
little,
sticking
yeah.
point?
Everybody makes the playoffs. I don't get it. They switched to speaking of switching to single eliminations, you see the Big 12 tournament. This is the time of year we care a lot about softball.
Yeah.
And we switched over to a single elimination this year.
Uh-huh. Yeah. I mean, does it matter when you got OU at 49
No,
and 1?
I mean, kind of, maybe. I
I
mean,
saw
OSU
somebody,
game a run. There was almost thought OSU had it. Did you see that game
yeah.
where the seventh inning they had to OU had to score what 4 runs?
Texas had to win in the 8th against Texas Tech yesterday.
Yeah, interesting to see. But no, I'm excited. This is when you really start getting into OU softball, and of
Oh
course
yeah,
it's
yeah.
nice that they're
And
here. And
I'm sure we'll be carrying it on 97.3 The Score. And I tell you, Chris Plank does a great job with the softball call on that, because softball is a little more fast paced than baseball. It's exciting, but still you as an announcer, you really have to still paint the picture for the radio listener. And I think he does that in a great way.
do I
Yeah.
not care about slow pitch softball because no, it doesn't seem like Western Oklahoma teams are very good at it, or do I not care about it because it's slow pitch softball?
Well, here's something to kind of bring that around, and if you listen to this and you love your kid playing slow pitch softball, my apologies, but Weatherford, Clinton, and Elk City, the three largest schools here in what we call Western Oklahoma, and I think Woodward as well, bypassed slow pitch this year.
Really?
Yeah, there
So
was
I didn't even know that.
yeah, I was giving out scores for slow pitch tournaments, and it was all and then also like the classes were really kind of discombobulated. Like I think Hydro Eagley was in 3A
Oh,
for slow pitch, and I don't know how they come about that, but like you had to be super teeny tiny to be in class B. But it's just one of those things where yeah, I could see slow pitch. I could see slow pitch going the way of like 6-on-6 or something like that, because you've got so many teams, so many players that in the springtime when they're really talented players or just trying to become more talented, they go play on travel ball teams.
right.
And I think I've had this conversation with our coworker Crystal. Uh, Slow pitch, there's detractors against it. I think the people that are for it are a little more traditionalist. But I mean, fast pitch is the season, and that's in the fall, and that's obviously there were some 6A slow pitch teams and stuff, but I think a lot of the teams just said, especially teams that have a lot of players that play on travel teams or elite teams, they may not have people to play. And I don't know if that was the case with Weatherford this year. I tried to, I didn't really really want to throw that out there at Coach Morris and say, why, but the Weatherford and Clinton didn't do slow pitch last year.
So I didn't know that either. I just assumed
Yeah.
we were bad. And that's why we don't hear about it. I didn't realize that we're just
No.
completely not playing. That makes a
Yeah,
lot more sense.
they just didn't go play. And
Now,
I don't think they, and I'm probably speaking out of turn, but I don't think they had enough for a team.
I get it. Now, do we make the switch? Do we go ahead and not only do we get rid of slow pitch, which I'm all about, but then also move fast pitch to the spring?
Yeah, I mean,
Like
fall
everybody else
does
does it.
seem like a weird time. I know it helps me as a sports reporter for Right Radio, because the fact that there's those days between Friday and and Thursday when you're looking for stories, and
Yeah, but I think you'd get more attention. You'd get volleyball players would be able to do both, right? So
true.
volleyball could be in the fall, and then you could also make an argument, that basketball can't do both unless they move it to, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would,
It makes you wonder. I think the small schools are what keeps it alive. I think the small schools want to make sure they have plenty, because I mean,
and the
small
small
schools,
schools can
John,
play fast pitch in the fall just like they
yeah,
do in the spring. They can just have 2 seasons of
like
fast pitch,
baseball.
just like they do in baseball.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I know there's some coaches at our smaller schools in Western Oklahoma, like first year coach Michael Ann Nelson. She's at Sayre. and she did. I did an interview with her, and she was just like, slow pitch, you can still get a lot of value and improvement and gain out of slow pitch. So I'm not versed enough in softball to really be
Yeah, you can drink
rolling
a
out
lot of
the
beer
advantage.
and play it in your whatever league you want to play in intramurals or
I always
whatever.
played in a church league, John. I didn't
Of
drink beer
course,
when I played softball.
y'all didn't have beer in your church league? Y'all did
No,
wine. Y'all were wine. Wine, I get it. Yeah,
it
yeah, church
was
people drink
it
wine.
was Pentecostal when I was a kid, pal. You better
Oh, so
not
y'all
even
had lots of crackers and wine,
you didn't
cookies and
wear it.
wine. I get
Wear a beer T-shirt or you're going to hell.
it. No, I'm just saying that's come on. It's
Yeah,
time. It's time to
yeah.
move on. Unless you're
And it was hard to keep track of a lot of it this year too, because when you don't have your bell cow schools like Weatherford and Elk City that we cover, like I think they had the Best of the West tournament back in March, maybe April. And yeah, I think it was early April. And like last year, that was a huge deal because Weatherford was in it. This year, it was at Weatherford, and a lot of teams showed up, but Weatherford wasn't in it. And it's like, well, I'll try to throw in some scores if I can. But so, anyways, but on to other things. How about, and this is going to totally flip the script, but we have some really standout track participants here in this part of the world, John.
yes, yes. Now you be the guy that comes to me and tells me you're disappointed in the Weatherford Lady Eagles.
No, 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 no. I mean, you
Don't
you
do
go
that.
out and try, you can, but how about Lily Ray,
Yeah,
state
she's really
champion?
she's
Huh?
really good. She's
She
really
is
good.
state champion in the 100, 200, and then the girls won a state in one of the relays. And then one thing I did notice for Weatherford and Clinton, and I think even Elk City, was there weren't a lot of competitors, boys or girls, in the hurdles, and I mean at least that qualified for state maybe. So track's all about getting those points by participants, and I think that's where Cash kind of made their hay was they had just so many participants in different things and placed high as well. But Lily Ray state title, and I think that's her second year in a row she's won state in the 100 and the 200. I'd have to double check my work on that, but I think that's the case.
I know she broke the state record.
Yeah, yeah,
So does that count?
yeah. It should probably it was probably her state record. So
Yeah, no, it's no, she's really good. They're really
yeah,
good. And I really was hoping Weatherford girls would have been three in a row.
yeah.
Three
For
of them,
no, they were going for the 5-peat, John.
really?
Yeah, they had won 4 in a row last season.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but no, I tell you, I'm looking it up right now because I was at the game, and they I'm pretty certain she won last year as well. But the thing about it is she's just an outstanding sprinter. Last year they had Peyton Foster. She's making known at SWASU women's track and field of what she's capable of doing. So it's pretty interesting, the track dynamic here. And then John, we could in it, yeah. Lily Ray, she won in the 100-meter and 200-meter in 2022 as well.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And how about this?
She's senior.
No, that was the first year she won state. I apologize. So over at Clinton, they're throwing their field events. They're throwing Cat Meacham. And I texted Anthony Moore, our state representative, to ask him if Cat was going to come up because she won Class 4A girls in the shot put and the discus. And I don't know if that's her second time in a row, but she is really a we'll probably watch her in the Olympics someday, John.
Stop it.
Buddy, you
Really?
she competed last summer up in Oregon at one of the nationwide events.
Really? Okay. I
Yeah,
think
she is a heck of a thrower. Now there's a girl who I think is at one of the I can't remember if she's in an Oklahoma City school or a Tulsa school, but her father is one of the Bookout brothers, which they were all from Stroud and were just these massive track athletes. But so anyways, but no, Cat Meacham, discus and shot put champion. And then Lola Hester, she qualified on a lot of field events too. And then Montel Bumpy Crane. He is another kid. I don't think he won state this year, if I remember right, but he's going to eventually. So, it just there's a lot of great track athletes out here in Western Oklahoma for sure.
Yeah, I was really good at the big man relay. That was my highlight.
Big man relay.
Yeah.
What was that? What were you going at with that?
Y'all didn't have that?
No, what was it?
It's the final event at every track. I don't think they called it the Fat Boy Relay or whatever, but it was the final event. I'm not making this up. It was the final event at every track meet, where you took the Fat Boys.
Was there a weight requirement?
Yeah. And you
just go straight based on looks.
Usually,
how does that work?
It was based on looks.
Okay.
And it was the last event at every track meet, and you ran a relay with all your biggest guys.
Okay.
And you
okay,
dominated.
All right. Well, good for you, man. Glad to hear of your track glory.
We're supposed to. Well, yeah. I mean, I threw the discus in the shot put, but there was no glory there. That was
Kat Meacham won girls discus in Class 4A in 2021. She did not win it in 2022. Montel Crane, Bumpy as they call him, he won discus last year as well. So, and then Weatherford's always got great competitors in the field events. Then Elk City, they've had some good runners as well. And then also I'd be remiss not to mention Jacqueline Glasscock from Thomas, Lady Terrier. She won a state title as well. So very, very proud for her and Terriers. Terriers finished well. And then you mentioned Prairie West. Thomas finished 7th in the Class 3A, or is it in the Class 2A state golf tournament, which I to be honest with you, John, I didn't know that they had a golf team.
Didn't either.
Before they started competing. Out of being the voice of the Terriers last year, I apparently missed out on that.
Yeah, no, I didn't realize that. So then the boys golf.
They did have some girls that golfed. Girls track did really well for Thomas, and then and Jimmy Laughlin, our guy out at Prairie West, his son Duncan was one of the competitors on the Thomas Terrier team. So kudos to them for a good finish, and they'll probably improve and get better with the years on. That's the thing, John. Going forward here in Western Oklahoma, this year was a standout, stellar year for a lot of schools. I'd say get ready for next year.
Okay. I'm in.
I mean, you were probably a little overconfident going into state basketball tournament, how many gold balls would be bringing back. Maybe you should have took the under. I don't know, but
we
fell short on some of that. Several teams won, but a few that we were looking at fell short. But
thanks a lot, Eagles.
Yeah, really. Thanks a lot, Douglas.
We had that game too. We just come out so flat.
Yeah, it was just it was tough. I relive it still. I promise you. Yeah. And speaking of, just to make a little announcement here for anybody that might be tuning in, management has notified me, and I kind of let some folks know that yours truly will be the voice of Weatherford Eagle football next season.
What?
Yep, they are shifting me to Weatherford from Thomas. Mike Crow, who did such a great job with Thomas basketball after I stepped in and filled in for Weatherford basketball. I guess to take a little load off of Mike Smith, let him, devote time to SWASU and not have to prep for two football games each week.
No kidding.
Yeah, that would be tough. So management let me know that I would be taking over the play-by-play duties for Weatherford football.
Nice. Are you keeping Jared Jones? Are you firing him?
I think he's packaged deal, but I think he's in good with the management too.
He's been there for a while.
He has had it. And hey, you think I don't need somebody like that?
No, yeah.
And then sideline reporter Brian Denton. So he did a great job with that too. And that's the thing about Thomas.
He charges a lot of money though.
Does he?
Yeah, yeah. You've ever got I get hospital bills all the time. From the Weatherford Regional Hospital?
You think that's how he's funding his?
That's how
sideline reporter.
100%. Yeah, yeah. He gets $1 for every dollar I pay. I think.
I bet so. I bet you're exactly right. So, but it's better than being an administrator at a hospital in a different town. So
That's true, because then you don't have a job. Shout out
yeah,
to Clinton.
exactly. But man, I hope those people figure something out quick.
Ditto. But no, all right. So now you're no longer non-biased. You're biased now.
Mm-hmm.
So Weatherford Eagle football is going to be blank next year.
Fast. Well, one word.
Sure.
Improved.
Improved. Okay.
Yeah. I talked to Coach Reagan Roof earlier in the week. We'll be doing some stories about spring football in the upcoming sportscast, but they feel like they were, he feels like they had two different seasons last year. The beginning part where they struggled quite a bit, couldn't quite figure some things out. And then at about the Woodward game, maybe one of those games, I think, it was after they lost to Chickasha. He felt like they turned a corner. And that's when they would have beaten Clinton, played Elk City really tough, which Elk City was an outstanding team last year, but fell and really had a chance in that playoff game against Blanchard and just fell short. So anytime you have a young team, just you think about this, John, and this is what amazes me about the youth, particularly in the sports that I call, Weatherford sports,
Mhm.
but even around some other teams. The youth involved, you think about how you developed from the time you were a freshman to the time you were a senior,
Mhm.
and how you were able to do things as a senior in sports that you weren't able to do as a freshman and sophomore. I mean, that's what's amazed me about, like, take for instance the Sage twins. The fact that they were starting and producing very well as freshmen in a state tournament semifinal, it's just astounding. So you think about what that team's going to be like next year, and then some other teams as well. So, but
Plus, you could argue Weatherford Eagle football, I mean, won it all last year.
Weatherford Eagle
Mhm.
football won it all.
Mhm. Mhm.
Won what at all?
The only game that mattered.
Oh yeah,
Beat the
Custertown
tar out
Conference.
of Clinton.
Yeah, yeah. And they did that at the Tornado Bowl, didn't they?
Yeah.
So yeah, you go over to your rival, but then
Yeah.
I mean, even at that, Clinton wins district or comes in second in district, gets the home game and wins and goes to the second round, and you don't. So I imagine there's still some motivation left to be had.
True. But
But
Clinton
we're going to be covering spring football a lot more, and you and I will probably need to recap some of that stuff as we go along.
Fair enough. Fair
All
enough.
right,
No, I'm
you
just
about
ready for football season. All right, who do you got real fast? Stoops in the XFL championship.
yeah, go Arlington all the way. He's got
Arlington,
something special brewing down there.
does he? There's been a lot of special things going on in that Rough Riders camp.
Yeah.
Is that
Now I want to see an XFL USFL championship. I want to see
Yeah.
champions from the XFL